All right. A very, very good morning to all of you who are here today. Just give us a couple of minutes so that more people can join in. And in the meanwhile, you can feel free to drop where you're coming from in the chat so that we'll start in 2 minutes. Okay, let's go. All right, so welcome, everybody. Once again, so glad to have all of you here on this Sunday morning for this mock product interview session. I'm Avinash from the NextLeap team and would love to welcome all of you to the session. So thank you all once again for joining. Today, we have a mock product interview between Anirban Das and Achal Chaudhary. Anirban Das is currently the Senior Director of Product Management at Ola Electric. He has over 12 years of experience building products with the likes of Hike, Tanzo, and now Ola as well. Really thankful he could take some time out to be with us today. And he's sitting down with Achal Chaudhary, who's actually a fresher to the world of product management. He's currently studying engineering at BITS Pilani and is one of our newly minted top fellows. Just a disclaimer, guys, this is a mock interview and there are no actual offers that are being made. And neither one is representing any particular company. But do stick around till the end so that you can hear the live feedback that Anirban has to give to Achal. And we can take a few questions that you guys have. So really excited for this mock product interview session. I think Anirban, you can take it forward from here, Anirban.
Thank you so much. So welcome to everyone who's joined and special welcome to Achal. Was really looking forward to speak to him. So Achal, if you could just start off and introduce yourself in 60 seconds for everyone to get to know you, and then we'll get started.
Sure. So I'm Achal Chaudhary, currently in my final year at BITS Pilani. I'm pursuing electronics and instrumentation from there. And from my 3 to 3.5 years, I have been part of many clubs and teams. I have explored many domains. For example, I was a part of the product management club, which you don't find in every college. So this is something new, which we can see in a few colleges only, like BITS Pilani. I was a part of the sports publicity team there. Also co-founded a comedy club because of my love for stand-up comedy. And other than that, I was in a part of social service called Nirman, which is a bits in form of NSS. Other than that, I'll say I've had 3 stints of internships, 2 more product oriented, and one of them was as a front end app developer. Other than that, I'll say my hobbies include I generally watch stand-up comedy. I am an avid music listener, and I like gaming. I like to follow esports.
Amazing. So to start off with, can you tell me about, in your engineering, what's the most difficult concept that you learned about?
The most difficult concept I learned about. So are we talking about any concept related to my course or
anything, like any subject that you studied during your engineering, the one that you really struggled with?
Okay, so I've very rarely struggled with, there are 2 subjects called signals and systems and control systems. So there you have certain functions called Fourier Transform and Laplace Transform. So these were some basic concepts that were applied in many questions. And it took a lot of time to just get a fair idea of what it is exactly and how is it helping us to conduct calculations for signals, basically manipulating signals.
Okay. And how did you teach yourself, or did someone else teach you? How did you finally grasp those subjects? If you could describe your process.
So usually what I do is I try to attend the lectures, but many a times it happens that I miss the lectures due to some reason or my laziness. So the first and foremost thing I do is just search on YouTube or search on online. There are some websites that contain all the information you need. Other than that, if I need something, I'll just leverage my friends on that. And yeah, I guess it took a longer time than other concepts, but after some struggle, I was able to, after some struggle and some bad marks in tutorial tests, I was able to just get a hold of it.
Got it. Could you explain either the Fourier transform or the Laplace transform as you would to maybe a 10-year-old?
Okay. So I don't think I remember it completely, but I'll try my best here. So it's basically converting time. If a function is taking input of time, and if you change it to frequency, if a function depends on frequency as its input, so that becomes a Fourier transform. So if you have to convert it into that, there is a certain formula for that which relies on integration. And so if I have to explain integration to a 10-year-old, it would just be like in integration, you add things up, but the difference is the things are very small and infinitely in number.
Okay. And what is the Fourier transform used for?
Okay, so Fourier transform is so I can't remember exactly. So.
Tell me about your favorite concept, or the one that came very naturally to you and was very easy, and just talk about how you would explain that to a 10-year-old.
So just give me a minute, I'll think about it.
Sure. And you can assume the 10-year-old to be someone that you know, so that you can, make it relatable to their interests.
So I'll go with time value of money. So I have a minor in finance. So I learned a few basics of economics and finance through that. And one of the first concepts that were taught to us was time value of money. How basically with time, the hard money you have, the cash you have, degrades in value. So if I have to explain it to a 10-year-old, so first of all, I'll have to introduce him to the concept of interest rate and inflation, which is something which is set by government and is which increases or you can say decreases the value of money every with time, or you can say every year. So if you have 100 rupees today, it won't be 100 equal to 100 rupees the next year, or it was how it was the previous year. So basically it tells us that if you basically save your money in a safe place, it will gradually lose value over time.
Got it. And let's say I'm the 10-year-old and I ask you, why does my money lose my value? I still have it, here's my 100 rupee note. I still have it next year. Why will it lose my value?
Because because the institution and government functions in such a way that they tend to increase prices of you can say commodities, and since the prices increases over time, so your buying power decreases with if you have the same amount of money. So if you can buy 100 toffees today, you may not be able to buy 100 toffees the next year or tomorrow, or for the matter of fact.
Got it. Okay, let's talk about now your hobbies. You mentioned that watching stand-up comedy, and you also set up a club or were part of a club in your college about stand-up comedy. So how did you get started with comedy? Like what initially piqued your interest in comedy?
So basically, I discovered if I have to go further back, is I'll start where that there's a show called Comedy Circus, which my father used to watch a lot, and humor is something which is a vital part of anyone's personality. If you're funny, you're likable. So I saw that okay, humor is pretty important to someone's personality, and I was growing up watching you can say Comedy Circus or Tarak Mehta, as a matter of fact. So as I was in my 11th or 12th, I discovered stand-up comedians like Zakir Khan and Abhishek Upmanyu, which caught my eye, and I started to follow them actively. And I was fascinated by their worldview and how they can make simple things or simple observations funny. And it was just basically that it seemed like how eventful is their life. But if you think about it, it's just day-to-day activities that they are facing. So after that, I went deeper. I've watched some 1 hour specials of them, and I just started to relate to them. That okay, I also have faced similar situation. Also, I have some funny anecdote to tell people, or I have some thoughts that usually you can't tell in a conversation, because if you say like why is this thing so weird or whatever, people will generally cut off and just start with their own conversation. So I found stand-up comedy a way to just convey my thoughts, or just show my worldview to everyone. So when my college started, I was actively looking for something like that. So there were few other clubs that wasn't actually stand-up comedy, but they did funny skits and stuff like videos. So I auditioned there. Unfortunately, I was selected, but I met a guy with a similar passion, who basically gathered a crowd himself and was doing a stand-up there. A few other guys with him. So I also voluntarily did a anecdote there, and I received a decent applause. So I was happy about that. And a few months later, I get to know that okay, somebody has uh, somebody's planning to make a comedy club in the college. So eventually I found it was the same guy. I talked to him, and it went off from there.
Got it. Got it. Can you talk to me about the first time that you were actually doing stand-up for an audience? Like how was that experience like for you?
So as I said, that was that particular experience only where my friend had gathered an audience, and he was basically performing under the stairs
Got it.
again with 20-30 people as audience.
And how many times since did you actually perform for an audience?
I have performed, I guess, 5 to 6 times,
Okay.
but most of it was online because of
Online.
yeah.
Got it. And can you talk about like one aspect of performing for an audience? that you improved upon, and how, like, your process on how did you actually improve upon that aspect?
Okay, so initially it was just a bit scary. I was speaking about my life monotonously. I wasn't waiting for the reaction of the audience, because if it's all about anticipation. For example, I have a joke and I'm expecting a laugh there. So I just tell the joke and I wait for the laughs. And if the audience didn't get the joke, or if it's not funny, so it creates an awkward tension at that moment. And you feel your confidence going down. So, and there are some instances similarly where audience laughs unexpectedly, and you have to wait for them to just calm down so that you can continue. So this was something I had learned through this to adjust according to the reactions. It may be the case you have to repeat a joke because mid joke you got a laugh, and how to repeat the right amount of material, or yeah, something like this.
Got it. So let's talk about that. So let's say the audience interrupts you with a laugh, or some other comment that they make. At that instant of time, how do you like decide, okay, I'm not going to repeat the entire thing, I'm just going to backtrack to maybe the last couple of sentences? What goes on in your mind, and how do you decide, how do you react to something which is likely to, be kind of nervous for anyone?
So firstly, I have a sense of idea where I'll get this reaction, unless it's heckling, which I haven't faced much, luckily. So since you have an idea, you just make sure that people were getting all the context, and you don't miss the comic timing. So it depends on that how much content will make it feel complete and get you laughs. If you go far back, then audience will get bored, because you need jokes to come out as soon as possible, because there's a build up, then there's a joke. So if you have, suppose you are telling a story, so it generally has a long build up, so you'll try to incorporate some smaller jokes in between, so that just the audience stays with you till the final joke, till the bigger one.
Got it. Okay. In your experience, what do you think are the top 2 or 3, problems or pain points that aspiring comics face when they're starting off?
First is the perception that whatever they speak or think is funny. It's basically, if I think it's funny, everyone thinks it's funny, and you don't know, and many of the comedians become too edgy. So if I interact with some juniors, they are like, okay, I like dark comedy, I like to be edgy, but it just turns out to be offensive or something we can't afford right now, because uh, being a new club, you can't take chances. And it has happened that if suppose we are doing college specific comedy and we make fun of any other club or department, so they may reach out to us that, okay, that wasn't very good or decent of you, and we have to just apologize and make sure that it doesn't happen. Another thing is the stage fright. So people tend to forget lines, or just forget the flow of their speech. So I've said, okay, I need another one, right?
You mentioned 3, but yeah, if there's any others that you can think of.
Sure, just give me 30 seconds. And also, another thing is lacking structure. People might think that delivering jokes is a straight away thing. You tell the context behind it, and then you just straight away go to the joke. but it's not that simple. You need to structure it. Your every sentence should add up to the joke, and it shouldn't just be it shouldn't be like a casual conversation. Every line should have a meaning. Every word should contribute to your set. Yeah, that's it.
Got it. So those seem like fairly, well-defined pain points. If you had to build a product which tackled one or multiple of these pain points, let's just brainstorm, how you would go ahead and build that product.
Sure. So I'll just write down the pain points first. I forgot to write them down. Okay, so I have defined pain points like assuming that they are funny. Another one is stage fright, and the third one is lacking structure. So I'll go about these 3 pain points to build a product on it. So first one, that thinking they are funny, we need to make them realize that what you necessarily think might not be funny to others. I think one of the ways is to just make them go on an open mic as soon as possible, so that they realize it with experience and not through some second-hand experience of some other senior. So I'll just ask one more question. What is the aim of our product?
So go ahead.
No, I just you.
Yeah. So it's to like the point from someone developing an interest in comedy to getting them to actually actively start doing stand-up comedy.
Got it.
That's the
Okay, so person who is interested in comedy, and we want that he is casually or actively performing it now. So one of the things is he'll need a place to perform. So maybe if he can get all the info and he can book himself for an open mic is one of the premier things that the product should do.
okay.
Other than that, there may be a case that you don't have like-minded people with you, and obviously you'll need feedback and you'll need to practice your set to make it more refined. So you'll need a community of like-minded individuals. Other than that, you'll need some knowledge or theory on it, so that you structure your thoughts and uh, you know what are the basics or what are the concepts of comedy. So maybe some kind of repository on that.
Okay. And what about like stage fright? In addition to getting people to an open mic, what else? What other features could you build into your product that helps people overcome the fear of stage fright?
So since we are talking about stage fright basically refers to the fear of getting on stage. What if something goes wrong, you forget something, and you'll be basically humiliated in front of a crowd. So one of the things that we can do is it generally helps is that if the crowd is supportive, even if you fumble somewhere and it doesn't, it instead of heckling you, it supports you. So you'll have a you'll have a great first experience, first of all. And since uh, and when you anticipate about certain situations, you tend to overestimate it. So you'll come to realize that okay, it's not that scary, and I can do just fine on the stage. So I'll think the way to remove stage fright is to create a better audience for at least initial open mics. So these audience would be the audience that is interested in stand-up comedy itself, who supports new artists or people trying out this. So the same community can be leveraged for organizing an open mic, where they can basically perform in front of small 10 to 20 people.
Got it. So basically, you'll stage the audience in some sense.
Yeah, it's staging in some sense, but still they don't know what are you gonna say, and it's
Sure.
not that they are bound to clap for you even if you do it bad.
Okay. So this will solve for perhaps easing users into the first time that they have stage fright. Now, if someone actually fumbles for their first time, that's one situation that you mentioned. What would your product do to help these people out?
Okay, so I have to reduce the chances of fumbling, right?
No, so they've already fumbled. How do you make sure that it doesn't happen the next time, or you deal with the person when they've gone through that experience for the first time?
Okay, so got it. Give me 30 seconds, I'll think about it.
Sure.
Okay, so one of the prime reasons people fumble is they get overwhelmed by the environment and tend to forget what the next line was. So if so, the conventional way is if you have smaller notes in form of paper chits or on your hand. So this can help you remember quickly what that were you trying to say. Yeah. So, but if you have to incorporate this in a product, so if the user has his whole set somehow written on the on a text editor which is inside the product, and as the set moves on, the we can say the cursor also moves word by word to where the user is currently. And if in case the user fumbles, he can just look it up on its phone and realize, okay, this is what I was going to say. This can't be it doesn't need to be necessarily be in the form of paragraphs. It can be in form of pointers, so that it's easily visible, and he can read it quick as possible.
Got it. So you address the recovery or preventing future fumbles aspect, but once someone actually fumbles the first time, what would you build which would tell them that it's okay, it's fine, it happens to everyone, something like that? So how would you deal with the person's emotional state when they fumble for the first time?
Okay.
Like,
So,
firstly, how would you detect that they fumbled? And then once you've detected that they fumbled, like, what would you show them? What would the product show them when they, open the product the next time?
okay, so to detect fumble, what we can do is the user can pre-record his entire set before coming onto the stage. Okay. And we can just again record it while performing. So if there's a significant difference in both of the recordings, so our app can maybe detect, okay, this was something where you went wrong or you fumbled.
Okay. And once you've detected it, how would you sort of address the user next time they come to your app?
So I think this is something, if people console can be dealt better. So if the community can be leveraged, maybe we can send a notification that cheer up person X. He just did his first open mic, whatever, something like that, and share some instances of veteran comedians with bad experiences.
Great. Okay. Okay. So let's move on now to something slightly different. You also mentioned that you were part of a product management club at BITS. So can you talk about your favorite project, or I'm assuming that there would have been events, right, that this club organized. Uh, can you talk about your
So
favorite project or event that you did as part of this club?
what we basically did was, internally we tried to discuss about product, conduct product tear downs.
Okay.
Externally, we create. So I'll say PM Club was founded, I guess, two 1.5 years back by my seniors, and so far we have been able to conduct a single event only at our technical fest. So we don't have much of a track record. So we did some internal product discussions and tear down, and we successfully conducted a product case competition in our technical fest.
Okay. So can you talk about the product case competition and specifically what your role was in organizing that event?
So we had to. So since we had an idea of conducting a product case competition, first of all, we needed a company or a organization to sponsor it. We needed judges, since obviously we can't judge a case competition of a large scale by ourselves. So we needed to get judges, and we needed a sponsor to basically who can basically, for example, how the product Foods does it. They come with monthly case competitions with new companies, and the problem statement is related to their product only. So we tried to incorporate that, and yeah, so the getting registrations, doing the marketing of the event, uh, also getting sponsors and judges were, I guess, the main tasks of the competition.
And which one of these were you responsible for? Like, where did you spend most of your time?
So mm, I was assigned registration and marketing for it, and the other guys were mostly handling the sponsors. If they felt they were overwhelmed, so I just reached out to them if they needed any help. So what I did was, basically, initially I reached out to PM school for providing judges, and they almost agreed to it, and we talked to the organizing committee of the fest and put up the competition on Unstop.
On
Unstop is an
Unstop.
app. Yeah. So after that, we needed to market the product. So we have an Instagram ID of PM Club. We have an LinkedIn. So initially, we did some social media promotion, and basically the general marketing stuff, which every event is done through, which is emails, social media marketing, and some physical form of marketing like posters and standees. So we made sure that we can cover as much as audience as possible, but this was internally, it was inside for our college, but we needed external participation also. So we reached out to different colleges. We made call to connections, whoever our friends in different IITs were, and just to make sure that they also market our event and we get maximum participation from there.
Got it. So let's talk about like whatever marketing you mentioned, the channels that you used, right? If I'm a potential audience for this event or a participant for this event, right? What was your message to a potential participant or audience? Like, why should I attend this event?
Because I feel if you are looking to learn about product management, if you are looking to looking for internships, and if you are looking to add something on your resume, so this is a competition which you can take part in. You will be competing with number of people, and the problem statement is also something unique. So it will be a great experience if you want to dive into the world of product management, whether you want uh, to implement your learnings or whether you're looking for some form of internship experience. So this is one of the competitions that you can take part in, and yeah, basically if you want to implement your learnings.
Got it. Let's say you had to now take this event and you did it for how many colleges participated in the event?
I guess it was around 15 something, 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's say you're happy with the response of this event, and now you need to make this event international across multiple countries. So from 15, you want to target 1,500 colleges.
Okay.
Across like 100 different countries. I want you to think about and talk about like maybe a couple of things that you would do exactly the same and a couple of things that you would do differently if you were to scale this internationally.
Okay, got it. So couple of things I would have done the same as social media marketing and posting it on popular platforms like Unstop. Maybe we'll need some platform which is on a larger scale. Other than that, I guess calling people from other colleges is not something that is scalable if you want to attract 1,500 colleges. So what we can do here is
okay, so calling is not scalable. What else would you not do?
Okay,
or do differently?
I guess reaching out to the sponsors, maybe we can use a middleman here, because finding out a sponsor or a company for an event of this scale will not be an easy task. So maybe a middleman where we can, where they can give us a company or a leads so that we can basically convert it. Other than that, okay, so talking about judges. Maybe if the event is of such a large scale, maybe there's a chance that maybe we'll attract good product managers or senior product managers to volunteer and judge the event. But if that's not the case, I think we'll have to more or less leverage our connections.
Okay, got it. Let's change gears again slightly and discuss your case study. So if you could take the first 2 minutes and just walk the audience also through your case study, and then we'll get to a few questions on your case study.
Sure, I'll just share my screen. I'm sorry, I'm not used to my friend's laptop. I just borrowed it for this interview. Give me a second.
No worries, take your time. In case you're still having trouble, do you want me to share it?
Yeah, I guess I'm stuck here. If
Okay.
somebody else can share.
I'll
Sorry for
share.
this.
Okay, I think we'll need some help from the NextLeap team because I also need to make notes. So I have the link. If one of you could share it, if possible.
Sure, Anirban, sure. Just send across the link. I'll do that.
Yes.
All right, let me just share my screen.
Yeah. So Achal, to begin with, if you could just walk everyone through the case study very quickly in 2 minutes.
Sure. So the problem statement was regarding Reddit, and it was to increase the monthly active users of Reddit. Since it is not exactly a pain point that needs to be solved, it's more of a business outcome. So I had to delve deep into what might be the reasons that we need to initially why we need to increase the monthly active users. It's not visible. Yeah, okay. Can you switch to the second slide, please? Yeah. So I started with defining what Reddit does. So basically, it's a collection of subreddits which are different communities for or different interests. And monthly active users refers to the number of users who have utilized your product's features in the last 30 days or in the last calendar month. So since we are talking about increasing monthly active users, so there can be three types of MAUs. First is new users who are onboarding for the first time. Second is retained users who are active on the platform. And the third is returning users who basically dropped off from the product, but for some reason they have returned to use it again. So this is some stats about Reddit. So this is how I thought about discovering the root cause. Why do somebody need a solution or a product to use? Maybe it's because they have some pain point which is solvable through that product. So do people not have the same problem, or they are not aware about the solution, or they have tried the product but somehow couldn't find the value in it that they were looking for, or they have tried they find the value in it, but there are better alternatives to it. So can you just skip to the third slide? Okay. So if we look up at Reddit has quite a number of active users, whether it be monthly or whether it be daily. So why do we need to increase MAUs? So I started with the point of high online activity. So with the access of internet at cheap rates, So countries, developing countries like India have immense potential, and this is somehow an untapped market for products like Reddit. Which is second point is more or less continuation of that only. And since if we talk about Reddit, so Reddit has competitors like Quora or Substack or maybe Instagram, because Reddit is partially used as social media and partially as a forum. So it needs to increase its market share, because definitely it's not the market leader. Uh, uh, I'm not sure about other countries, but in India, Quora is the prime choice to find answers. And if you are looking for something technical, it's usually a Stack Overflow or something like that. So what value will be generated if we increase the monthly active users is basically avoid stagnancy in growth, because it has captured most of the market in US, and it can increase its revenue by diving into newer markets. For users, it's basically what Reddit provides: access to different communities, platform to learn and impart knowledge, and meet and connect with like-minded individuals. So
Okay.
I did.
Sorry to interrupt you, but in the interest of time, we'll need to move on. So if you could come to the slide which has your rating. Yes, this slide. So between problem 1, problem 2, and problem 3, you rated impact as 3, 3.5, and 4.
Yes.
Like, can you talk me through your thought process on why you rated problem 1 as 3 and why you rated problem 2 as 3.5 and problem 3 as 4? Like, what is different between these?
So it was more or less based on my user research. So when I conducted the survey and I talked to some of my friends and some of the users through surveys, so I found that let's talk about problem 3. So making the UI simpler. So the UI of Reddit is a bit cluttery and it is very text heavy, but still it is not a reason that it is faced by almost all of the candidates I interviewed, but it is not something that will make you leave the platform immediately. Or matter of fact, it won't be a independent factor to make you leave Reddit. So I rated it 4. So here, the lower the rating is, the negative it is. So higher impact score is basically it's impacting less negatively.
So I get that, but like, what's the difference? Like a half a point difference between problem 1 and problem 2?
It's I basically prioritized which is the prime problem here. So I knew that people weren't able to find relevant content. So I needed to I just ranked all the 3 problems, and I just made a fair assumption of what is the most irritating thing that can be, and what is something which is just poking you and won't affect your decision making.
Got it. So you arrange them in order of how irritating or how painful something is.
Right.
Okay. So if that's the case, why not rate it as 1, 3, 5 or 2, 3.5 and 5? How did you arrive at specifically 3, 3.5 and 4?
So what I did actually was I defined some problem that can be more irritating than not finding you can say relevant content. Maybe the app is not opening, or you are finding some glitch. So this is something which will irritate the user most and will cause the user to leave immediately. So for me, that should receive the rating of 1 or 0.5, something like that. So
Okay.
I did my ratings on the basis of that.
Got it. How would you modify? So one of your ideas was social circle. Just for the context of everyone, social circle is a community-based discovery of new subreddits and content. So one of your ideas was social circle. How would you populate social circle for users who may not have any social media friends on Reddit?
Um, so it doesn't leverage social media. It takes input the phone number of individuals and
Okay, so let's say no
uh,
one on my phone book has
okay.
is on Reddit. How would you handle that case? Like, how would your product or feature change for that case?
So definitely it won't be effective in that case because you don't have any context to leverage upon. So what? Okay, I'll just give me a minute. I'll think about it. Sure. Okay, so what I can do is here is I'll take whatever the interest of the individual is. I'll input the location of the user, and I'll locate Reddit users nearby with similar interest uh, as the particular user. So that can act as suggestion for the user.
Okay, so nearby is one option. What else?
So I could think of only two ways here. One is either we leverage any other parameter, for example, location, or we find ways to help users make connection on Reddit. So maybe something like a link where the user can share it on his or her social media, and on clicking on that link, uh,
Okay, but
they
do you
get
think the
added.
new user who's not even used the product would sort of share it with their friends?
Hmm. The tendency might be low. Uh, so for a new user, I think this can be something which can be offered at a later point where the user has explored the application, and maybe he's still is looking for more relevant content for him.
Okay. So sharing and getting more friends on board, that's another idea. What else? Like, how else could you make the experience of people who don't have their address book on Reddit better?
Maybe we can add a feature here which makes the user choose. Suppose I'm an existing user of Reddit, and I get an option that I can add my top 5 favorite subreddits in my user profile. So so the new users can visit anybody's user profile and see, okay, I like this person, he has similar taste to me, and he recommends these 5 subreddits. Maybe I should check that out.
Got it. Okay, great. Any other ideas?
um, Maybe somehow if we can no, I don't think so. I have to think thorough about it.
Okay, cool. So that brings us to the end of the interview. I'm just going to share my screen and quickly share feedback. So I've just color coded some of the feedback as well. So starting off, I think the first thematic feedback, Achal, is that if you look at the first 20 minutes of the interview, right, everything was in your comfort zone because the questions were based on things that you spoke about. So one of the things that you could possibly do better is A, share more examples when you're talking about these things, and B, ideally you should be prepared beforehand so that, you know, some of these examples, you have a lot more content ready to actually talk about them. But um, those are two observations. I think in a couple of places, and this is a theme that I observed during the interview, is you tend to undersell what you're talking about. So for example, you said you tried to attend lectures but missed some of those lectures, so that part is fine. But you mentioned due to your laziness. Now why would you want to, even if you're the laziest person in the world, there's no need to actually say that in an interview, because laziness as a trait would not necessarily be something that, depending on, you know, who's interviewing, may make a note of it. The 10-year-old question was interesting. I think here one tip is that perhaps you could have thought about how do you explain anything to a 10-year-old, and you spoke about toffees, for example. So making something relatable to a 10-year-old would be one of the answers. If you asked yourself this question, that would be one of the answers that come up. So the Fourier transform piece of 10-year-old, I think that you completely bombed. I think you spoke about, like, I don't think a 10-year-old would know what a function is. Input maybe, time maybe, frequency again may not be a term that a 10-year-old is familiar with. And integration, I think you explained reasonably well, but then again, integration is a way to actually explain the Fourier transform mathematically. The application aspect of a Fourier transform is something that you completely missed out on. So maybe applications in music could be something that you could use to relate what Fourier transform is to a 10-year-old. So, and hence, you know, maybe a tip is like, before you get into the question, ask yourself, how would you explain anything to a 10-year-old? I think the time value of money, towards the end, you spoke about toffees. So that was one good part. But then again, hard cash degrading in value, interest rate and inflation, right? Maybe you did not need to talk about those aspects. Maybe you could have used like pocket money and toffees and just said that, you know, the shopkeeper might be increasing the price of toffees by 10% every year. And then the basic concept you could have explained. So again, it's a very, I don't think you can ever prepare or anticipate such a question, but in case you face such a question, maybe you can think about, you know, how do you think about any 10-year-olds you might know, and then sort of get to answering the question. Then we spoke about how did you get started with comedy. So here, I think I really liked how much depth you went into. You explained it very clearly and you explained it very crisply as well. How did you improve at speaking to an audience when starting off? So I think here you could have possibly given like a deeper example, but I think you spoke about how you like the pause waiting for laughter aspect. That was really well done, but maybe you could have used like a few more examples here. How do you decide when someone interrupts you what to actually face? I think you showed good depth. So basically what I'm trying to test here is whether you're making it up and it's like a very passive hobby, or you've actually done this and thought about this very deeply. So I think you answered this very well, and I was convinced about the depth of your hobby of stand-up comedy. Next one was top 2-3 pain points. So very good and very well structured pain points, and very clearly defined pain points. Like I am not someone who's into comedy, but I could very easily understand that, okay, if I were to ever go into comedy, or felt like anyone else who's doing stand-up, right, they might face these 3 pain points. So I think this was very well answered. Brainstorming how a product can actually solve some of these pain points. I think here you asked for time, but perhaps you should have taken slightly more time. Because what happened was you started with a structure on the 3 pain points. Then you went ahead and spoke about 3 features, but you did not tie them back to the pain points. Plus, you started to answer the question as soon as you had a couple of ideas. And then I had to probe you saying that, you know, tell me more ideas. And you came up with like a lot of good ideas. In fact, the detection and handling for first time fumbling is like a really good idea. In fact, of the ideas, I thought that was the best idea. So I think taking the time to come up with more ideas is one thing that you could do, instead of like as soon as you have one or two ideas jumping in, unless the interviewer interrupts you and tells you that, why don't you start answering? So I think that is one thing that you could have done better. I think you asked what is the aim of the product after you answered the first feature. I think that's a really good question, and you should have possibly started there and then structured your ideas according to that. This question I actually could not get to, so I'm going to skip over this. Okay. In your role at the case competition, I think this was the question that I asked you, but you spoke about initially what the entire team did. And then I asked you a follow-up, and then you described, registration and marketing. It's fine, but I think you should spend more time talking about the things that you did. The question around like what you did within marketing, right? I think again, there you mentioned, so this is a common pattern, as I mentioned, you were underselling things that you did. So you spoke about, just the ordinary marketing stuff. That's the word that you used, right? But there's nothing wrong with it being ordinary or conventional and everyone being used, right? Let the interviewer, if anything, judge that. You should not be underselling this. Also, you could have started and possibly summarized the why first. So who was the audience that you were going after? Why should they attend your this thing? You did not even include it in your answer. I had to follow up. So maybe you should start with that and then get into, okay, these are the channels that I used, and maybe here were the differences across channels that you observed. So this could have been one way to improve the answer, but overall, I think with the follow-ups, this was a good answer. Then when we spoke about organizing such an event internationally, now this question itself by its construction, right, asks you to think bigger. So I think, see, ultimately they're ideas, right? At this point, no one's getting into like, oh, an idea will be feasible, not be feasible. So here, everything from like, I'll get Elon Musk or Zuck to judge the event, right? To partnering with other colleges, like the top colleges in the world, right? Those could have been ideas that you spoke about, showing, that you have vision or ambition to actually do this. I think your ideas were fairly underwhelming. They were not wrong. And maybe from a practical standpoint, these are the ideas that you go with. But there's nothing wrong with, at least in an interview, thinking bigger about some of these ideas. Coming to Reddit. So I think one of the statement that you made here is a definite red flag. So you said that, this was a business outcome that I was going after and not a pain point. But usually in most cases, the how of achieving a business outcome is usually solving a customer pain point. And if you look at the three ideas that you had, right, those were also customer pain points. So I think you should not have framed it as a either or. I think you spend some time. So, okay. So I told you to walk us through the case study in 2 minutes, but I think at the end of 4 minutes, you had only reached slide 3. So your goal in an interview is to maximize the number of questions that you can answer. And for that reason, I think you could have breezed through some of the slides very quickly. As an example, the definition of new, returning, resurrected, right? That's something that the audience as well as the interviewer might be a lot more familiar with. So I think being mindful of how much time you have, that is something that you could have done better. So this one was actually a deliberate tricky question. So the thing with ICE is, right, it's very hard to find the nuance unless you have like a lot of data to actually call something a 3 versus a 3.5. So I think what you could have done is the point that you made at the end, that can I find more irritating problems than my boundaries, which is 3 and 4, or less irritating problems? That was the concrete part of your answer. So you could have just said that and moved on and said that it was a judgment call. So you can avoid some of the more probing questions there. I think, again, this same theme that came up. So taking the time to write more points and then answering, unless the interviewer interrupts, right? That's something that you could do better at. I think the number of ideas that you came up with, they were good, but then I had to keep probing you. Now, in an interview, sometimes the interviewer might keep probing, but sometimes the interviewer might move on, depending on, how the rest of the interview is going. So that's why whenever you ask for time, taking the time to think about, like, just asking yourself what else, right? And then beginning your answer might actually be better. But overall, I think all three ideas, they were good ideas for the case that came up.
So what's the correct number of ideas that I should give by myself only?
So I don't think there's any like magic number as such. So you want to, like, let's say you're comfortable with 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and you could even say that, okay, until the interviewer interrupts me, I'm just going to keep writing ideas.
Okay.
And maybe in 30 seconds pass and you can't think of an idea. That's when you can resume. But in your case, I sense what was happening is as soon as you got the first idea or the second idea, right, you were like, okay, let me start talking about these one or two ideas. But
Okay.
yeah, that's the feedback. I think overall, the content was really good. You answered most questions well. You showed creativity at coming up with ideas, like things like the comedy one, or even the case at the end, right? Where it was an edge case of your core idea, right? I think you were able to generate ideas and come up with the ideas, which is the most important part. Here or there, the few things that I mentioned, if you reflect on those and if you agree with that feedback, they might help you do better at interviews as well. So yeah,
Definitely. That was a very comprehensive feedback, and I'll definitely work on it.
cool. So
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, both Anirban and Achal, for doing this mock interview. Really, very insightful, I hope, for all of us. So, Anirban, do we have time to take a few questions or?
sure, we can take questions.
All right. So if any of you have any questions, then please do go ahead and put them up in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and Anirban can help in answering those, I guess. Okay, if any of you have any questions, you can type them in the chat.
Okay, maybe I can ask a question to the audience.
Sure, Anirban, go for it.
So, in what ways can we sort of make this session and this format, more valuable or more engaging for the audience? Any ideas around that?
Achal, you can feel free to answer as well.
I'm sorry I was interrupted. Can you repeat the question?
Is there any way we can make this more interactive and more insightful for the audience?
Maybe as Anirban is asking questions to Achal, like we ourselves can solve those questions and post it in the comments. So like the audience could also compare themselves against each other, that how they would have answered if they were in Achal's place.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Thank you so much, Shrey. Anirban, we do have a question in the chat. It is by Jatin, and he asks, how will a gap year in your resume after graduation play out in the interview?
So I think it depends on what you did in the gap year. If you spent most of the year watching Netflix, then probably not going to reflect very positively. But if you spent it to like study for the JEE or for the UPSC and you learned a lot in the process, then I think you could give a positive spin to it. So it really depends on what you did in the gap year, how you spent that year. I think that is what the outcome will be about the gap year.
Jatin, I hope that answers your question. We'll wait for a couple of more minutes if any of you have any questions. Otherwise, we shall end the session.
Hi, I wanted to ask if we do not have any relevant product experience, with regards to internships or let's say no internships at all in our 4 years in college. So, and if the topic comes up, like, do you have any sort of experience? So how are we supposed to answer it?
So let's say, so you might face the first hurdle in getting to an interview, but assuming that you do get to an interview, as we looked at today's session as well, right? You don't need to have experience about product. You just need to have an in-depth understanding of anything that you are passionate about. So a lot of questions that Achal answered were about how can you build product to get aspiring stand-up comics from point A to point B. So the interviewer would actually typically ask questions about any field that you are passionate about, and do have experience in, and then just sense that, whether you'll be able to give at least some reasonable ideas about how product can be used to actually solve those problems. So I think the challenge that you might face is getting to an interview, because it's fairly competitive. But I think once you get to an interview, I don't see this being a negative as such.
Oh, okay, understood. Thanks.
All right. If that's the end of the questions, then thank you so much, all of you, for joining in. I hope you could take some great insights on this. We're planning to do this each week along with Anirban as well, and we had to have different segments as well each week. So this week was a fresher. Next week, hopefully, we have somebody from engineering or business trying to switch to product. So do stay tuned for those sessions as well. Looking forward for all of you to keep joining back, and thank you so much for joining on this Sunday morning. I think we can end the session now. So thank you all.